Hello, people who may be listening. I'm back with my review for Thor Ragnarok, the newest entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thor is back in Asgard after his adventures from Ultron, but a life changing event causes his sister Hela, who in real Norse mythology is Loki's daughter, uh, to be free, and she comes to unleash Ragnarok, the end of Asgard. And Thor, with the help of a few friends, has to stop it. Now, I feel like most people probably know what to expect from Marvel movies at this point, and I don't think this one really changes up the formula too much. So, if you've gotten tired of it at this point, I understand, and I don't think this one's going to change your mind. I'm not in that camp, though, and I had a good time watching this. I would certainly put it above the previous two Thor films, although that's probably not saying a lot for most of you. Now, this one is squarely in the action comedy genre that most of the Marvel films are, and I think both of those elements are done well, as they are in most of the Marvel films. All the action scenes were enjoyable, but there were two specific ones that really rose Ragnarok above some of the more average of the films. The film opens with an action sequence in a hell-like environment. I don't think they ever really say where it is, but it's the one that's in the trailer, the first trailer where Thor's hanging by the chain and kind of spinning around. And I thought that action sequence was very visual appealing. Thor's just kind of racking down a lot of people with his hammer, and there's a part where you get to see things from the hammer's perspective, which I thought was pretty cool because I don't remember seeing that before. Even they might have done it in a Avengers, probably, but I don't remember it. So I thought that was cool. And the final fight, which obviously I'm not going to get into too much detail about, but I just thought it was a great payoff to the whole film, and it used some special effects that I really, really loved. There was one fight though, where the one where we get a first real look at Hell that I thought the CGI looked a little wonky on, and I couldn't really see what was happening. But on the not being able to see what was happening, I did have a pretty bad seat for this film, so that might have gone into that a little bit. And the comedy part was done well as well. I at least smiled at every joke and did more than that at a lot of them. I probably missed a bunch from people laughing in the theater or myself laughing because Lord knows there's so many jokes in these Marvel films. Well, some of the new characters really stood out. Jeff Goldblum plays the Grand Master, who has this big gladiator ring and honestly acted just how I think Jeff Goldblum would act if he owned a giant gladiator ring that takes up a planet. Obviously, this comes from someone who doesn't know him personally, but just from what we pick up in interviews, he had a lot of really funny parts, and I enjoyed Jeff Goldblum in almost anything. This was no exception.
Wow. Wow, I didn't hear any thunder, but out of your fingers, was that like sparkles?
Now, Korg, who is one of the gladiators in the ring, I thought was easily the funniest character in the film. I mean, pretty much every line he had was a joke, and I laughed at pretty much all of them. And I was surprised because, I mean, this character was motion captured by or performance captured by and voiced by the director, and he's one of the low-key characters, but he comes out the first time you meet him, he has some great lines, and that continued throughout the film. And of course, Loki and Thor have some great interactions, and it just kind of reminds you that uh, they're still brothers even after all the things they've been through. It did fall into the trap that I mentioned in my Lego Ninjago review, and the one that Marvel movies have become in the habit of kind of doing is when they try to deliver those emotional moments, they almost always just interrupt it with a joke. Of course, it's not as bad as Ninjago because these jokes are actually funny, but it would be nice if they could just learn to let it simmer sometimes. Just let it simmer. I think they can be serious because we saw it in Civil War, which I think is probably the darkest of the films. But recently, they haven't really been doing that. Even in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I thought focused a lot more on the emotional side rather than kind of the action side, but they would still interrupt the emotional scenes they had with jokes. There was the part where Peter Quill was kind of discovering all the terrible things his father has done. His father was explaining to him why it was okay, and he was, turning into, uh, turning into David Hasselhoff. Wow. In the middle of this scene, it was kind of like, wait, am I funny? What? And so I hope they can get back to that, especially by Infinity War, because I think that's going to have some really serious stuff going on in it. At least this coming from a guy who doesn't really know the comic side, but I can tell that there's going to be some serious stuff. So get on it. Anyway, two more things I wanted to mention. I thought Kate Blanchett as Hela was extremely entertaining. Hell's backstory herself was, kind of, I wasn't too interested in it, but I just thought it seemed like Kate Blanchett really enjoyed every second of this role and really savored it. And I thought that energy really came through to me.
Asgard is dead.
Another big piece of the film was, of course, Hulk, Thor's buddy from work.
He's a friend from work.
Hulk had a lot of great moments, and I liked him overall. He had some funny lines. There was the fight between Thor and Hulk, which was very enjoyable. Maybe not as enjoyable as the fight they had in Avengers, but still well done. But there were a lot of the moments, the serious moments that were punctured by jokes, I thought came in scenes with Hulk in it, and where a lot of the emotional stuff was surrounding him. And I thought they really could have gone into that a lot more. And instead, they were just kind of like joke, joke. And again, the jokes were funny, and I thought it was okay, and it was still fine. But I just really thought they could have gone a little deeper there. Uh, but in summary, Thor Ragnarok, in my opinion, another good, a bit formulaic Marvel film that does a few things to set it above the average ones, but it certainly was not a perfect film. An overall solid movie. Now, if you watch any of my other reviews, it may seem like I give that solid rating to a lot of films, and I do, but that's why it's not about the rating. It's about why it gets that rating. But anyway, thank you to anyone who does watch this. Feel free to, give it a like, subscribe, all that jazz. If you got any thoughts on it, thoughts on the film, thoughts on the review, drop them in the comment section. And I'll see you guys next time.